P&M Leasing Studios, it's your college football fix. Welcome to Fan University on 105.3 The Fan.
Welcome to Fan University here on a Saturday morning, live from Jake's Burgers and Beers off Marsh and Walnut Hill Lane. We are with you from 9 to 11 a.m. The crowd is going crazy over here in the corner. This is sponsored by Shiner Beer and Spirits. They're on site with great prizes. It's going to be a fantastic morning here on Fan University. And what a day of football we have. I am Brendan Baxter alongside Jake Rietma and Carter Freeman. And gentlemen, it is officially rivalry week, or hate week better. You've got the game, Ohio State, Michigan kicking off at 11. Miami at Pitt is at 11. Some huge playoff implications. We are going to get into all of that. We'll speak to Tony Garcia from Michigan beat writer live from the game in Michigan at 9:30, and Carter Freeman, Jake, he was at Texas A&M last night, so we're going to get into that. Carter, welcome back from Austin. How you doing, brother?
We're working with a 4 out of 10 hangover right now, but it's it's a 4. It's below passing grade, right? So we're on the right side of that, and we'll survive. Had a lot of fun last night. Early wake up call today, but here we are at Jake's, ready to party.
Poor Carter. I mean, I woke up this morning feeling like Christmas morning. You got a full slate of rivalry games, and I get to Jake's this morning, which, by the way, come on out. Awesome food specials all morning long, drink specials as well. Get the Saturday going, Bloody Marys and everything. Hair of the dog for Carter to get right back up and ready to go. But I mean, I was shaking Carter, ready to go, dabbing it up, and I'm a little fired up, But it's 9 a.m. First kickoff starts at 11. We're going to ramp it up and continue that trajectory all the way on up. Fan University, baby. No place else I'd rather be.
Might take me a little longer. The only place close I'd want to be right now is maybe in bed, but we're here.
But you can't be in bed on hate week, man.
Man.
Every single week of Fan University has led to this moment where we get to preview the biggest games with the biggest implications in the college football season. And none other than Michigan, Ohio State. Arguably, Jake, from your home state, biggest game in college football. And yet again, this game is going to deliver huge playoff implications. If Michigan is able to win at home for the 5th straight year, beating their huge rival in Ohio State, they would have a seat in a playoff spot, which might kick out a team that won last night, the Texas Longhorns, who are feeling like they are owed a spot. So these scenarios today, which we will break down later, is wild. It could have chaos all across the country.
And if last year with Michigan and Ohio State, Michigan goes to Ohio State as 3 touchdown underdogs and pulls off the win. So all you have to do is look back to last year and see that anything can happen in this rivalry. And I know it's a cliche, you throw the record books out the window when you've got rivalries playing, but it really is the case when it comes to Michigan and Ohio State. I think Ohio State significantly favored in this one despite being the visiting team, but the big house, if you haven't heard, it's a pretty large stadium, pretty big home field advantage there for Michigan. It's been since 2019 since Ohio State has won in this game, and I think Colin Cowherd put it best that Ohio State beats everybody except Michigan.
And so we'll find out if they reverse that trend this year. Some other huge games to keep an eye on. Here locally, SMU goes to Cal tonight.
Yeah.
And SMU win in the great state of California, a huge ACC matchup, by the way.
Right. Yeah. When I hear ACC,
yes, a classic
Berkeley,
ACC
California
rivalry there. SMU wins. They are in the ACC championship game, so big implications there. We wanted to shout out the North Texas Mean Green from last night. They are in the American Championship. They finished 11-1 in the regular season. They have a chance. Their odds are now up to 35% to make the college football playoff.
Yeah, shout out to the Mean Green.
Shout out to the Mean Green.
We love the Mean Green.
Yes,
we had former, current head coach. That's
what I said last night.
Yeah.
Former, current
head coach Eric Morris, a friend of the program, was on the show. Drew Mestemaker was on the show. Fan University has nothing but love for the UNT Mean Green. We have nothing but love for SMU. We had Rhett Lashley on the show. It's been an awesome season of Fan University.
And look, UNT, they've continued to handle business through all of that. The outside noise with Eric Morris leaving, all that XYZ. They handled business yesterday against Temple, and the way that the CFP has set up their poll, Tulane's the only ranked Group of 5 team. You're gonna play them. James Madison's another team that people thought could be in contention for that Group of 5 spot. It's most likely not going to be the case. With only 2 more rankings left, it's going to be the champion of the American. So If you win that game, UNT, you're in the playoff. All you got to do is win, baby. That's what we've been saying, and it's held true.
Just win.
What a fantastic story for the Mean Green. First 11-win season in program history. Just a fantastic year. And they've really brought this community here in Dallas-Fort Worth another team to get behind. I mean, SMU having a good year as well, too. But the UNT Mean Green have had a special season, and they deserve a chance if they do get in to play against the number 5 seed and maybe pull off the huge upset. We'll see what happens there. It'll be an exciting team. I could see Drew Messamaker and Eric Morris cooking some offensive schemes up to knock off the maybe 5 seed A&M after last night.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You talk about deserve. I mean, there's a 9-3 Orange team down in Austin that I just saw. It's talking a lot about how they deserve to be in the playoff with 3 losses.
Okay, so let's get into that.
Let's do it. We waited long
We waited
enough.
5 minutes, but last night, obviously, Carter, you were down there in Austin seeing Texas 27-17 win over the Texas A&M Aggies. The talk after the game, I guess we should just get right to the scenario at play with Texas winning. They have 3 wins against top 10 teams, which is the most in the country. And then the whole argument now on the Texas side of things is, why would we schedule Ohio State week 1 if we're going to get docked? If we would have played UT San Antonio or Abilene Christian week 1 and won by 40, though they did only beat UTEP by 17, to be fair, they would be 10-2 and a certain lock, regardless of who they lost to with Florida and Georgia. So I just want to ask right off the bat, do you guys think Texas deserves a spot in the 12-team playoff after the win at home against Texas A&M last night?
Well, we know who really believes that, Steve Sarkisian. I mean, you talk about campaigning. I mean, it was the interview 3 seconds after the game had gone final. He's saying why his team should be in the college football playoffs. Now, I think I know where both of you stand. So for argument's sake, I'm going to put on my Texas Longhorns hat here and argue for Texas being in the college football playoffs for 2 specific reasons. One, wins are more valuable than losses. Let's judge a team based on the wins that they have. You mentioned it. Texas has the most wins against top 10 teams in the country. And 2, the argument behind preserving, which is exactly where Steve Sarkisian went, preserving the sport. It would be a disservice. It would be a disservice. Now, obviously, I don't believe it as wholeheartedly as the head coach of the University of Texas does, but there is some truth to the scheduling component of it, because teams are not going to schedule those big out-of-conference marquee matchups early in the season if they're going to be punished for it. And we see SEC teams already with the 8-game schedule late in the season. You've got Georgia playing, Charlotte. You've got Texas A&M playing Samford. We're going to see that times 2 at the beginning of the season and eliminate games like Texas and Ohio State that we enjoyed early this season if teams are punished for losing that game. Now, This is me being in debate class, picking a side and arguing it. It's not necessarily what I wholeheartedly believe. I just know we're going to get plenty of arguments on the contrary.
So, Carter, that's fair. And the wins matter. And they did beat A&M, who was ranked number 3 and undefeated, and that's a great win. I'm not discrediting Texas from beating Texas A&M. It's a rival game. It's a heated rivalry. Black Friday. Texas deserves the right to be in the conversation based off of that victory.
Yeah.
They also deserve to not be in based off some of the losses. The loss to Florida is inexcusable. Florida is a 3-win team.
Yeah.
And the loss to Georgia, how they lost, is not ideal either. And then some would argue even the wins against Mississippi State and Kentucky, where you had to claw against 2 of the bottom feeders in the SEC to barely beat them, the eye test would tell me they're not a top 12 team.
This is going to be a great baseline going forward in this era of these massive conferences to say, what do we value more? A team in the SEC that played a lot of top 10 teams, beat a bunch of them, maybe lost to a couple of them, or do we value a team in a different conference that won more of their games against what we perceive as lesser competition? In my estimation, if you lose 3 games, you should be out. And you can hem, you can haw about how, we lost to Ohio State to begin the season. You lost to Florida. To me, that's the biggest thing. And Texas has not looked like a complete team for an entire game outside of maybe 1 or 2 games this entire season. Even against A&M last night, it took until the second half. And Arch Manning played horribly in that first half. Now, granted, he played some of the best football of his entire life to end that game. Texas ends up winning. Credit to them. They don't play football that's full of mistakes. And I think you can give a lot of that to them, but I still think of the struggles that they've had. I still think of the meltdown they had at the end of that Georgia game where they were in it and they end up losing by 25 points on the road. Like, there are just things with this team that it's not, on the whole, the entire season, they have not lived up to, I think, the talent people thought they have.
Right. And this committee has shown that they're an eye test-driven committee, i.e. Notre Dame.
So Notre Dame's,
that's why Notre Dame is number 9.
Because, look, Alabama has better wins than Notre Dame.
Right.
They have the same record, and Alabama's one spot behind Notre Dame.
No, I completely agree. And I was listening to Reese Davis on the way in here, and this was pre-Texas A&M last night, so this would have been right when the college football playoffs most recent rendition came in. They were speculating if this, then that type of thing. And with Texas, with the win, it just continues to go down to the conversation of how you're hand selecting what you perceive to be the best teams versus using the results on the field. And that can be applied to Miami, Notre Dame. It can be applied to Texas as a 3-loss team. There's so many different, and the whole issue that the sport is running into is the perception of this committee that has the power to determine what those unmeasurable qualities are that are the human eye watching these teams.
Right. Great point. Well, one person that thinks Texas deserves to be in is Texas head coach Steve Sarkisian.
I'm shocked.
This was Steve right after the game, his post-game interview, not 2 seconds after they won the game. Here's Steve Sarkisian on why why Texas deserves to be in the playoff.
You tell me, that team's undefeated, number 3 in the country. A lot of the pundits out there think they're the number 1 team in the country. We just beat them by 10.
What kind of statement do you think that made to the committee?
Well, I think this. If you really look at the body of work and you look at the Southeastern Conference and what we have to go through every week, you look at the non-conference schedule we play to go to Ohio State in week 1 and lose by 7 when we outgained them by nearly 200 yards. We got a really good football team, and it would be a disservice to our sport if this team's not a playoff team when we went and scheduled that non-conference game. Because if we're a 10-2 team, it's not a question. But we were willing to go play that game. So is that what college football is about? Don't play anybody and just have a good record, or play the best and put the best teams in the playoff, and we're one of the best teams.
Beat Florida. Then you don't have this conversation. Like, that is so, like, I will never get over the whining about this Ohio State game, because and if you did lose that game,
go win the game.
But
still.
You
got one, go win it.
Win the game, because you outgained them by 200 yards, like you just said, and you still lost. But 2, because you lost to them, because you lost to the number 1 team in the country, that's why you're still in the conversation.
Right.
So you play those games. That's why OU is in the top 10 right now, because they have a key non-conference win over Michigan, who is 15, playing Ohio State today. If you're Texas, you need to be the biggest Ohio State fan in the world, because you need all these teams in front of you to drop games so you can jump, because that's going to be the tough thing. Texas is going to be in the conversation for sure. We've been saying that for weeks if they were to beat A&M. But just look at, it's Michigan in front of you, it's Vanderbilt, it's Utah, whose season's already done, right? They're 10-2.
Yeah, 10-2. They won yesterday.
And they're 3 spots in front of you already. Miami, is in front of you as well. And then BYU sitting there 10-1. If they win the Big 12 title game, Texas Tech is probably still going to make the CFP as an at-large. You just need so much in front of you to go right, and that wouldn't be the case if you just beat a crappy Gators team earlier in the season.
Right, and we're going to get into this at 9:40 in Baxter class, but we'll walk through the scenarios and all those teams you mentioned, what would need to happen essentially for teams like Texas to get into the top 10. Because the top 12, the 11 spot will be the ACC champion, the 12 is going to be the group of 5. So there's these 6-7 teams battling for really...
6, 7. There it is.
I'm 5 years old.
Had to sneak it in, right? Battling for maybe 1 to 2 spots, depending on how today shakes up as well, too. And so there's just not a lot of wiggle room there. And Michigan is the trump card in all of this, because if Michigan does win today against a common opponent in Ohio State, and then guess what Michigan did, Carter? They scheduled your Oklahoma Sooners and went on the road and lost, so they have a similar type road game that Texas scheduled. So if Michigan wins, there's no chance Texas gets in.
No.
Because Michigan would have the win over Ohio State, a 10-2 record. They would jump up more, and they're already 3 spots higher than them in the rankings. So a lot has to happen. I'm not saying Michigan will beat Ohio State, but that scenario, Texas would have no footing to be on.
And I tell you what, if Michigan does win today, and they're 10-2, and we say they're going to be a lot for the playoff, well, who are we kicking out? Because 1 to 10 right now, BYU would, unfortunately, if they don't win the Big 12, they're not going to make it. But look, Alabama's 10. Alabama could win the SEC. If they win tonight and beat Auburn, they'll be in the SEC title game. They could win that. Then they'd be a lock for sure. You're not kicking Georgia out, who they would have beaten. Then you got OU. They'd be sitting there at 10-2. They beat Michigan. And Notre Dame's sitting there 10-2 as well, right? And we've talked to death about Notre Dame. So I don't know, man. Because those two final spots are going to be guaranteed spots. Someone's not going to make it.
You need chaos. And BYU, by the way, is the most overlooked team in all of this. They have a great resume. They're going to be 11-1. You're going to have a really hard time convincing me. Let's just, for argument's sake, assume that it's Texas versus BYU argument. 9-3 versus 11-1. I don't care who BYU played, though they did play Utah and Texas Tech, two top 15 teams. You're going to have a hard time convincing me that a 9-3 team should be an over 11-1.
But there's so many people that follow the sport, and that you even heard it on the broadcast last night with Texas A&M when it became eminent that Texas was going to win. You've got McDonough and McCarron in the booth talking about McElroy, yeah, the other Alabama quarterback, yeah, CTE brain there. Thank you. You've got them talking about how Texas deserves to be in. There's such a large portion of college football pundits that believe a 3-loss SEC team should jump a team like BYU. And the only thing I'll add to that, if BYU gets left out, it's because their quarterback wears number 47. It's just the football gods frowning upon something like that. Well, no, nothing but love for Bear Bachmeier. You guys know I went out to LaVell Edwards Stadium earlier this year. The BYU fans, the BYU experience, all of that, they deserve to be in the college football playoff as a one-loss Big 12 team.
Yeah, that's a scenario, too, where if BYU did somehow beat Texas Tech next week in Arlington, that's where Texas Tech is not going to drop from 4, which they'll be at on Tuesday, to 11. So Tech would take that last spot.
A lot of people on the fan text line, 877-881-1053. BYU not going to get in because Tex will smash them again.
I love the 972. Texas would smash BYU. Really? Did they smash Florida or Mississippi State or Kentucky? Are those teams that much better than BYU because they're in a Southeastern Conference? That's the argument I would want to make.
Hey, can I just make a brief shout out because we haven't mentioned them at all in this opening segment? Indiana won by 53 yesterday. They're 12-0.
Yeah, but it's Purdue. That's like the school of the blind.
But Indiana winning by that much has become so normal in the span of 2 years that we don't even think about it. It's like, oh yeah, Indiana beat the crap out of whoever. Indiana is 12-0. Indiana undefeated in the regular season will play for a Big Ten title. That is just it still just boggles the mind that they've become as good as they are.
The power of Curt Cignetti. And what do you do if you don't know what the Indiana score is? You Google it because he wins.
You Google it, and we'll get into that too. But shout out to the teams that did clinch: Ole Miss, Georgia, Indiana. All clinch spots in the playoff by virtue of winning yesterday. So this is Fan University here on 105.3 The Fan, and we are live from Jake's Burgers and Beers here on Marsh and Walnut Hill. Shiners with us, Shiner Beer and Spirits on site with great giveaways, awesome Bloody Marys, spirits. It's going to be a blast. We're with you all morning. Coming up next, though, we've got Tony Garcia live from the Big House at 11 a.m. coming up, Michigan, Ohio State. We'll preview that game and talk a little bit more about these playoff scenarios that are on tap for this Saturday afternoon. Don't go anywhere. We will see you guys here on The Fan.
something, you have to forget something else. Okay, now that is a very cute house. That's like a little shed. I've never seen it before. Well, wait for So Rachel. Oh, is that your name? No, I think it's your name. No, I'm Jen. My name's Jen. Right, but I just mean like this is your haircut. But that's hair on your head. I'm not saying this is your hair. Okay, freaking me out a little bit.
It's Fan University here on 105.3 The Fan, and we are live.
Yeah, let's go!
Shiner Beer and Spirits on site.
Yeah,
with
fire me up!
Awesome holiday cheer. It's officially the holiday season. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. But come out
We got our
and see
hype
us here.
man, Scott Long, here.
Long
Let's go!
Wouldn't be here without him.
With a sick backwards hat. And we have got Shiner and Spirits here. The Shiner truck just pulled up outside. This thing is huge.
That's
If
what
you've
I was
not
hearing.
seen it. Yeah. So come out and see us, man. There's great Jake's merchandise. The food is phenomenal. The breakfast. I'm about to order this breakfast burrito here in a second. It is great. But we have still got a ton of college football to get into as well, too. And coming up here in just a second, we will speak to Tony Garcia from Michigan. Live from the Big House. Jake, you've been to a game at the Big House, right? Have you been in that stadium?
Oh my goodness, yes. How much time do you have? Because my thing with the Big House is
The
I have
biggest
seen
house.
Yes, it is everything you can imagine. And just to nerd out on the design for a little bit, when you pull up to it, it's cool, but it doesn't look like the Big House because it's dug down so far. So at ground level, it looks just like a normal stadium, but when you walk into the Big House, the field is so far below ground level. It's dug out so far, and it is just a giant bowl. There's no upper deck, there's no lower deck, and so when I nerd out from a football fan perspective, the sightlines are terrible. I mean, I have watched many Michigan Northwestern games there, and you'd be better pressed to watch it on TV. I've also watched when the Big House is a third empty because it's Michigan versus Central Michigan. My brother coached at Central Michigan. We'd always go watch when they played Michigan, and the Big House, when it's empty or half empty, it's a sleepy environment. But when Ohio State's there,
It won't be empty today.
the game, I can assure you, it will be loud. We'll talk to Tony Garcia about exactly that. You got Fox Big Noon Kickoff there. You got College Game Day there. You got Dave Portnoy doing what Dave Portnoy does with the silly Wolverine hat on. And I always tell people, Michigan fans, Dave Portnoy is the perfect representation of Michigan fans. I mean this out of respect, which means you're going to, with all due respect, I'm going to say something disrespectful. They're loud, they're proud, they're arrogant, they don't necessarily think about things rationally. They're fanatics, and that's what makes a good fan base.
College football fans right
Correct.
there. I mean, that's them to a T. And I need all the info on the Big House I can get because OU plays there next year. And I very much, and I'm like, I don't care if the sightlines are terrible. Like, that's the biggest stadium in the country. Pretty sure that's the biggest stadium in the country. So, like, it is the biggest house. And we were talking in the break, too, and I want to ask Tony about this, is Michigan's won this game 4 years in a row, and I feel like each year they've won it in a different way, whether it was a big upset the first time, an even bigger upset last year where they're 3-touchdown underdogs. They've won as a favorite. They've blown out Ohio State in Ohio Stadium. So I'm like, if Michigan's to win again this year, how are they going to do it? Like, we've seen Bryce Underwood kind of have some big games throwing the ball. We have seen him not have big games throwing the ball.
Yeah, and Michigan's won this game one-dimensionally in the past, running the football, not having to win through the air. But you would think this Ohio State defense is so good, and they just have so much talent on that side of the ball that Bryce Underwood is going to have to make plays with his arm if Michigan wants to win this game.
He's going to have to throw at Caleb Downs, right? Who's best safety in the country. So
does Bryce have that ability yet? He's a true freshman. He's got all the talent in the world. We think he'll be a great quarterback. But does Bryce Underwood actually have the ability to go in? We will see. But we were going to ask Tony Garcia that question, who's live with us from Michigan. Tony, welcome back to 105.3 The Fan University. How are you doing, sir?
Doing great. It's a big game today. Ready to rock and roll.
Hold on. Tony Garcia, the Michigan beat writer for the Detroit Free Press, joining us on 105.3 The Fan right now and previewing the game with Big Game. That's what you got for us this morning,
It's the game.
Tony?
That's what it's called.
Big game, big game. Whoa, you sound like Wojo.
Big game.
Yeah,
No,
whoa, big game.
it is. I know I've been told they're all big games, and every game is the big one because it's the next one. But I think, I think this one is a little different. You can feel it in the air for sure. Just walking in, I mean, there was a good sprinkling of some red. I guess they call it scarlet. It looks red to me, but that's neither here nor there. So no, I mean, just pumped and. Feel like I know which way this is going to go, but after last year, it is really, really difficult to know which way it's going to go.
And that's exactly what the three of us were talking about. We're with Tony Garcia, who covers the University of Michigan for the Detroit Free Press, that every time you look at this game in the series history, you think you know where it's going, but there's just been so many shocking upsets and twists and turns as of late. But before we get into all that, you know I'm always creeping on your Instagram and everything in the most friendliest way. Were you hanging out with Derek Jeter last night?
Oh my God! You did. I did run into Derek Jeter last night.
Oh, this guy! This guy!
Yeah,
Derek
we had.
Jeter?
There was I think he might sneak in as a picker on one of the shows today. I'm told there was an event that I was fortunate enough to get invited to last night, and there were a couple others. I will not appease Jake and drop any other names, but there were a number of important people, and I did not belong in the room. I'll just say that.
Oh, you were at the top of that VIP list, I'm sure.
Well, we know, Tony, that you've got the connections there, but I did want to shift to this game. Michigan comes in with a huge edge in the fact that they've won 4 straight. So you have the game at home, kind of that mental edge of having won this game as a heavy 3-touchdown underdog last year. Now you're a top 15 at home. Do you feel like that comes into play more in this game than maybe any other rivalry in the country? The fact that Michigan, when they suit up to play Ohio State, it really is about just this game, not the records at play?
I do. I think last year was Exhibit A of that, and I was asking Sharon earlier in the week just about sort of the mental hold, the mental pretzel, if you will, that Michigan has had Ohio State in the last few years, and they were really downplaying it. They were saying that's all great, but those years are not going to help us win this year. We have to have our own game plan and just make sure we know what we're doing and stay committed to our game in order to run that back. But my evidence that it is very much a thing is historically Ohio State has always bussed up to Ann Arbor for the game. This year they decided to fly because they are undefeated and they have flown to all their other away games, and they, quote, did not want to change what has been working. And I'm like, if that is not you in your head, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, I love that. That's so college football. Like that's just how the sport works, and I'm here for it. But Tony, you mentioned Sharon Moore, and I'm curious on your thoughts on him and Bryce Underwood, because early in the season, Bryce Underwood, you lose it on the road to Oklahoma, have some struggles. During the games where Sharon Moore wasn't coaching, it seemed like Bryce Underwood was having more success throwing the ball. And then you've obviously, since he's come back, you've gone back to run first. I know that's Big Ten and everything, but how much of the Bryce Underwood development have you seen? And this is going to be a huge environment for him, and you think he's ready for it?
Yeah, before last week, I was saying that I hadn't seen a ton of progress from Bryce. I mean, he's always been a great talent, but I didn't see anything that was like really showing me that things were clicking, that the game was slowing down. But over the last couple weeks, I mean, prior to the fourth quarter against Northwestern, which was probably his worst quarter of the year, he threw interceptions on back-to-back drives, and he had a missed exchange. Yes, that's right. He had a missed exchange on a handoff, and things were spinning quickly. But prior to that, I think it was probably his best 3 quarters of the season in quarters 1 through 3. Michigan was running. I know Jake hates when I get into X's and O's, but very quickly, it was a ton of RPO. And I mean, they were just making the reads really simple on him, right? Like you're reading the end, and then it's just sort of a one-read progression. And with Andrew Marsh, I mean, they were slicing and dicing the Cats early on. And then last week, it wasn't as much RPO, but he was still going to Marsh heavy. McCulley got in the end zone as well. And he really put a good game together. Last week was, I think, his best game perhaps of the season, certainly in a couple months. And so, as Michigan tends to do, they are coming into this game with some momentum and feeling like they've found something.
Tony Garcia is with us on 105.3 The Fan University. And Tony, don't sell yourself short. I love when you talk X's and O's and RPOs. But we are here in the great state of Texas, and obviously the development last night was the Longhorns beating Texas A&M. And as it relates to the college football playoff as a whole, that now puts all eyes on this game in a lot of ways, Michigan versus Ohio State, because you're looking at a Wolverines team, if they win, a 2-loss Big Ten team. Where do you stand on the college football playoff debate as it relates to Texas with 3 losses but 3 wins against top 10 teams? Do you think, or do you believe they deserve to jump into the college football playoffs versus a team like Michigan, let's say hypothetically, if Michigan's able to pull it off today?
It is that. I mean, that is the biggest debate. It's got to be around college football. But and then you look at I think Miami might be out, but like a Notre Dame who seems to be safely in, or Vanderbilt if they beat Tennessee, sort of what happens today as well. But the way Michigan's perspective is, if you're 10-2, both losses were the first half of the season, ranked teams on the road, and you have a win over the number 1 team in the nation, they feel pretty good about their chances of getting in. All for the last 6 weeks, I've been saying that it was as clear as win out, and they are in. The closer it gets to it, with more teams lingering, and then Texas pulling that off last night, I do not know. I mean, right now Michigan has 1 win over a team that has more than 8 victories this year, and that was New Mexico. So there is nothing to hang your hat on in terms of that until or unless you win this game today. And then a win over number 1 Ohio State, I mean, I think that definitely will count for something. And 15 is just right on that bubble. You probably got to get up to 10, right? Like 11 and 12 will go ACC and Group of 5. You got to be able to get to 10. And so will that help them jump 5 spots? We shall see.
We were looking at that earlier. We're trying to figure out who to kick out, because you would really need an Oregon to lose to Washington later today. And then by that, then you would play in the Big Ten title game. So. But look, Alabama's at 10, Notre Dame's at 9, OU, who they lost to, is at 8. So it's slim pickings. Like, there's a lot more teams this year that I think are really in that conversation, and it's been fun to see Michigan stay a part of it at least.
It has been. It's very different than last year when they were 5-5.
Awesome. Well, Tony, we appreciate you taking some time this morning, man. Enjoy the game. Where can people find you?
The Detroit Free Press. It's freep.com, or on Twitter, and this will give Jake a little chuckle, at Real Tony Garcia.
The real Tony Garcia. Go back to hanging out with Derek Jeter and all your very important people, and thanks for fitting us slowly Fan University folks in this morning. No, seriously, man. You're the man. Appreciate you always, brother.
You're incredible. See you soon, bud.
All right, there goes Tony Garcia, man. And yeah, it is an interesting argument to make that Michigan doesn't have a key win outside of New Mexico, which, hey, credit to the Lobos, not a bad team there, but this is something that obviously would be a huge stamp on their resume, but even this might not be enough depending on how few spots there are with the college football playoff and the bubble teams that are still there, to your point, Carter. So look, beating Ohio State, who's undefeated, I think that's enough to get them probably up to the 10-9 spot. But then you're comparing them to a Notre Dame. That's probably who you'd have to, a Miami at 10-2. And so the scenarios at play here are wild. We're going to walk through all of that here coming up next on Baxter Class. But this would make things chaotic.
Because just look, if you're going Notre Dame, 10-2 Notre Dame versus 10-2 Michigan, they both played USC. Notre Dame beat USC. Michigan lost to them. So how much do you value the Ohio State win? I mean, it would be beating the number 1 team in the country. Hasn't lost since week 1 when Ohio State beat them. So, yeah, this is my season, man. I love the hypotheticals, and like it's like the off season in like the NFL or MLB, where it's almost more fun to just like dream up what could happen rather than watch the product on the field happen in then all your hopes and dreams die.
Yeah, what fun is it saying this? Let's just wait and see how it all plays out. No, let's put cherry pick every possible hypothetical there. But one thing that Tony said that I didn't even realize, Michigan up until this point, Michigan's best win is New Mexico,
who has been actually surprisingly good team. And even in that game, I remember that was a week 1 game.
Yeah, early.
New Mexico was running trick plays in that game. They were scoring on Michigan, so that was like kind of an early okay, this is not like the pushover team that you might think they are. And I believe New Mexico, they have a chance to play for the Mountain West title. I know they beat San Diego State in overtime yesterday, and they're in the mix.
Yeah, they're 9-3, 6-2, I think total. I don't know if Boise's in there over them or not, but yeah, it's a really interesting scenario, and we're going to get into all those scenarios here at 9:40 coming up on Baxter Class. But come out and see us, man.
Yeah, come on out. Woo!
It is going to be a fun morning. We've got a ton of merchandise out here. Shiner's here with us too, so do not go anywhere. And coming up right around the corner, what needs to happen for the 6 or 7 bubble teams to make the college football playoff? We will tell you next here on Fan University.
Forget something else to remember that Uber Eats has groceries.
No, that's absurd. Hey, remember when you used to be a, what was it, Pepper Lady? Pepper Lady?
Wasn't it Cinnamon Sisters?
Basil Babes.
Saffron Squad?
Nutmeg Maidens?
Paprika?
No.
Nutmeg Maidens.
I just said that. Was it Spice Girls?
Doesn't sound right.
Was it Saffron Squad?
It's Fan University here on 105.3 The Fan, live from Jake's Burgers and Beers off Marsh and Walnut Hill with you till 11 o'clock. And we're going to hang out after, too, and watch some football. So everyone come check us out. Shiner is here with great spirits. They've got Bloody Marys, the Texas Special, the huge Shiner truck.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping you were going to say. I love that truck.
This thing's crazy. That was worth it alone to come check out. But while you're here, you might as well come get some Texas spirits as well. And it is time for Baxter Class. And today, guys, I wanted to walk through the scenarios in the conference champions, what the current college football playoff currently looks like, and then what would need to happen for a team like Texas, like Miami, maybe a Michigan if they were to win. We just talked to Tony Garcia. What would need to happen? So, Carter, after yesterday's results, Georgia beats Georgia Tech. Georgia's now a lock. Now, Georgia is also in the SEC championship game by virtue of Texas A&M losing to Texas. They will either play Alabama or Ole Miss. The Iron Bowl, which we have not even mentioned yet 40 minutes into the show, can't believe that. The Iron Bowl, if Alabama wins against Auburn, they will be in the SEC championship game to face Georgia, a rematch of that game from earlier in the season, but both of those teams would be in. So let's go through real quick the teams that are locked, and then we'll go into the teams that might have an opportunity to sneak the 1 or 2 bits. So, Carter, who is right now a guaranteed lock into the CFP, and how many teams is that total?
In my estimation, there are the top 5 in the CFP right now are locks. That would be Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, Georgia, and Texas Tech. Now, the order will change because Texas Tech could go on to win the Big 12. They could move up. Texas A&M lost last night, so they will drop, and we'll be curious to see how far they drop, going into this championship weekend. But I do believe they'll still make the CFP no matter what. After that, that's where it gets a little hairy. That's where Oregon plays Washington today. Oregon loses to Washington. There's scenarios where they might not end up making it.
Ole Miss not a lock. 11-1. Ole Miss not playing in the SEC championship game. I feel like Ole Miss is a lock.
It's just so tough with the Lane Kiffin mystery.
I thought about that on the way here. Still speculating, are we going to get a Lane Kiffin answer? And Brennan and I dove into that deep last night about, he's out of the running at Florida. Florida's no longer interested, so it really is Ole Miss or LSU. And either way, I can't justify punishing every single one of those other players because your coach leaves. And I know it makes them, on paper, a worse team, but I don't think it catapults them completely out of the playoff. Maybe it affects seeding.
What if we have a 10-2 Michigan who beat Ohio State and an Ole Miss team without Lane Kiffin? Because they're going to drop Ole Miss if Lane Kiffin does end up leaving. I think that's going to happen. It's just a matter of how far. And then you're getting down to the 9 and the 10 spot where it's like, okay, there's maybe 6 or 7. You really didn't even mean to do that. Teams that are in play for this spot.
That's twice today. The 6-7 Carter reference coming in. That's twice in 40 minutes.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm running off like 4 hours of sleep.
I think Ole Miss is a lock. For sake of argument, let's say Ole Miss is a lock because I don't think they're going to drop them from 7 to 12 because they lose their head coach. Because the players, they're on the field. They're playing the game. Like Trinidad Chambliss would still be playing in a college football playoff game.
Yeah.
Unless there's a mass exodus of players, I don't see that happening. So let's say Ole Miss. So that's 6 teams that we have locked. Notre Dame playing Stanford today.
If Notre Dame wins, they're in. So I think you've seen that based on how the committee has ranked them over the last month.
Okay, so that leaves 4 spots, right, that we could essentially lock into, but 2 of those spots will go to the ACC champion, which could be SMU or Pitt or Virginia. Miami doesn't really have a play there. And then the group of 5, which will either be Tulane or North Texas. So now we're talking 2 spots. And here's the teams we could debate for some of those 2 spots. Texas at 9-3, Miami at 10-2 if they beat Pitt today. On the road at cold Pittsburgh, that's not a guarantee.
Yeah, and it's an ACC game, so Pat Narduzzi's taking it serious.
They tried real hard last week against
Vanderbilt,
which helped out SMU, so I was all for it.
A lot. Vanderbilt plays at Tennessee. If Vanderbilt wins, they will finish 10-2. Utah, who finished their regular season yesterday, they're ranked 13th currently. They're at 10-2. BYU 11-1. And then Michigan, as you mentioned, if they were to win against Ohio State and have a 10-2, that would add another team to these bubble teams. Now, Alabama is a team here, though, that it's worth talking about because if Alabama loses to Auburn tonight, they're out.
They're done.
They're done. Yeah. And so if they win, though, they're a lock. And so if you're some of these teams, you need Auburn to win. and you really need like OU maybe to lose to LSU this afternoon.
And I think if OU wins tonight,
they're in. They're in.
I mean, just based on, and they having Michigan and Alabama win would help them as well because OU has wins over both of them. But I think if OU's 10-2, they'll not only make the CFP, they'll host a home playoff game.
Well, while we're doing crazy scenarios, the one I threw out to our Fan University group chat last night that I needed everyone to double check it wasn't a CTE brain moment here, that let's say hypothetically the ACC champion isn't ranked. It's not a guaranteed that the ACC champion gets into the college football playoff. Now that is very, very far-fetched.
Are you trying to get James Madison in? Are you trying to get the Sun Belt champion here instead?
Yeah. Don't sleep on that. No, I'm just saying this from if you're the committee and you're trying to find avenues to get your at-large SEC and or Big Ten Michigan, I'm thinking here, into the college football playoff, one way you could do it, because that guaranteed group of 5 champion highest ranked team is in, they're guaranteed, so North Texas or Tulane, so they would jump the ACC champion and you'd leave the ACC champion out entirely.
There is still a scenario where Duke could win the ACC.
Right.
That's 5 losses.
Yeah, and they would not get into the playoff if that's the case. So
ultimate chaos.
Even
that's
SMU,
ultimate chaos.
Yeah. If like I'm putting my SMU hat on for just 1 second, but a 3-loss SMU team with losses to Baylor, losses to TCU, and Wake Forest,
which is a bad loss.
No, Wake Forest isn't that bad. The TCU and the Baylor ones, those actually look worse than the Wake Forest one, honestly.
But a 3-loss ACC champion is understandably, there would be some people, there would be some pushback with that.
Yeah, but them's the rules. That's the current setup.
Win your league.
Yeah.
On the SMU point, though, I think the fact that they ranked them at 21 is telling you, okay, if SMU goes on to win the ACC, we'll put them in because we have them ranked in our top 25. So they think they're good enough to put them in as a 10-win ACC champion, even with 3 losses. So I do think that SMU would be in the playoff, which, by the way, we talked about this briefly last night. But if SMU makes the playoff, if North Texas makes the playoff, you have Texas Tech making the playoff, you have A&M making the playoff, and then if somehow Texas snuck it, you almost would have 4 guaranteed teams in at that point, and then you might have a 5th. The state of Texas is dominating the college football playoff this year.
That's because we launched Fan University this year.
Because of this show.
Throw in Oklahoma is another school with a lot of local ties. Like a lot of the Southwest Conference is represented
right
here.
There, man. Yeah, and so let's look at some of these teams. So I'm going to go down the list, and I want you guys to let me know. And by the way, again, we are here at Jake's Burgers and Beer.
Yeah.
Jake Riepma, Carter Freeman, Brennan Baxter here with you, Fan University. But I'm going to go through these teams, and you guys tell me in or out, or if with a win they're in, assuming chaos. So let's go right here. Miami 10-2. They win. Is Miami over Texas in your mind more deserving to be in or out?
Man, I've stumped for Miami the entire season. So, and I'm trying not to look at this as I'm wearing an OU hoodie here, but I do think Miami is being disrespected. I understand that the ACC isn't to the level that people don't view it as strongly as the SEC, but Miami's, when they've won games, they've won them by double digits. I think there's something to be said for that. Throw that in with the win against Notre Dame. Now their loss to SMU isn't looking like, oh, it's this dreadful road loss, right? Like, I think Miami's deserving. I think they could make noise in the CFP if they were to make it, but they have a tough road to get to the ACC title game, and as an at-large, I don't think the committee's going to throw them in there.
I am with you as well in the sense that what does Jake Riepma think is going to happen versus what is the committee going to do type of thing. And I think, based on what I said earlier, I got to stick to the fact that Texas, with their wins, is going to be the team that jumps. Because the other part of it, too, and we've got this on the ticket text here at 877-881-1053, the fan text line. And the fan text line there.
Not Detroit.
Yes, apologies. We talked to Tony Garcia. That's where my CTE brain went with that one. But how do you let OU and Vandy in without Texas? Because Texas beat both of them.
Yeah, Texas has 2 good wins against OU and Vandy. That's a fair point. Then it's about who you lost to more so as well, too, because Vandy losing by 3 at Texas on the road, Vandy losing at Alabama on the road, and I think that game was 30-14. So it gets into the common opponents and who you've played, how you lost might matter as well too. There's just not enough spots for everybody.
There's just not. And
there just isn't. So you can't let all these SEC teams just in because they play in the SEC. A lot of people want that.
This is going to move the CFP towards the 16-team format. Like right now, the SEC and the Big Ten, and I think the other conferences want more teams in the CFP. They just can't agree on, do we want more automatic qualifiers or do we want the top 16 ranked teams, right? Like this is going to happen, and because this doesn't happen every year, but because this year where there's so much talk about it, that there are maybe 15 teams that could be deserving, we're going to move towards that. But yeah, for the time being, yeah, you know, a lot of these teams just aren't going to get, they're not going to get in. The committees put them where they put them, and they usually don't flip them around, wildly at the end of the season. And here, quick hypothetical, or not really in the hypothetical. Could Texas be ranked over Vanderbilt in the next CFP poll? Texas beat Vanderbilt.
They could.
Texas has better wins than Vanderbilt. They have more losses, but we're just talking about who they lost to Ohio State and to Georgia, 2 teams in the top 4 at this point. I think Texas might jump Vanderbilt, even if they're 10-2. Because Vandy's best win would be Tennessee at that point.
Right, and they played Tennessee today. So you're looking at Texas at 16, Michigan at 15, Vandy 14. Then you got Utah, Miami, who we talked about, and then BYU at 11, and then Notre Dame at 9, who's kind of that last bubble team, because we're assuming Alabama winning the Iron Bowl would be a lock. So even though Bama's at 10, we're kind of penciling them in. What about BYU here? What about a BYU over a Miami, or a BYU over a Vanderbilt, or a Utah who they beat? Utah is just kind of sitting there at 13. Does BYU, though, winning today, they're going to beat Central Florida, be 11-1, going to Arlington next Saturday to play Texas Tech. Are we just going to drop them for winning by 40 this week? Like, are they going to get dropped against a Michigan or a Texas? Because BYU is going to win a game, have no reason to drop. Are they just going to drop them?
And if the committee,
Carter's smiling because he knows that's what's going to happen.
I think they will.
Here's my argument, and following up on last year, if the committee has any sort of consistency, which I know is a lot to ask, look at SMU last year. They were not punished for losing the ACC championship game on a last-second field goal to Clemson, and if and when BYU wins and then goes to Arlington, can they be punished for losing in the Big 12 championship? Or will they take the justification that, hey, you can't beat, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but you can't beat a good team like Texas Tech twice, or you can't beat them at all.
Yeah.
And so how good are you really, where the best team on your schedule that you've played twice, you've lost to them both times?
Well, and that's why they'll keep them outside of the top 10. For example, if BYU is ranked 10th on Tuesday and then they were to lose to Texas Tech, they can't punish BYU for making their conference championship game and then losing that game and being punished. So BYU would just stay in the playoff. But as long as they keep BYU on the bubble, which they're doing on purpose, then they can say, oh, well, they were never in to begin with, so we can miss them out by a game. That's what the committee is doing here. That's why they have Notre Dame ranked at 9th instead of 10th over Alabama, though there's no justification for that, solely so they don't have to compare Notre Dame to Miami, who they beat.
These poor Cougar fans.
It's the Cougars, man.
Just win, man. Just if you're a BYU fan, like that's really
go beat
like,
Tech in Arlington.
You've been a good team over the last 2 years, and you've been disrespected. Go win and show why you shouldn't be in your mind, and then have Tech still make the CFP as an at-large, and we can kick another team out that there's no spot for them.
Yes, if Tech loses to BYU next week, Tech is going to kick out either a Notre Dame or a Miami or a Texas. So final question on this before we hear from Carter and what's coming up on Carter's Corner. Does Texas get to the 12 line on Tuesday night, yes or no?
I say yes.
Ask the question again.
Does Texas get to the 12 line on Tuesday night, yes or no?
No.
That means they would jump Vanderbilt, Utah, Miami, and BYU.
I don't think they do. I think there's too much chaos that needs to happen.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, there could be a lot of chaos, and we are just a little over an hour from games kicking off, which means the chaos will be starting. Big 11 a.m. games, by the way. Miami at Pitt is a game that could decide Miami's fate. You've got Michigan, Ohio State at 11. That could decide, obviously, Michigan's fate. So we will know by 2:30 or 3 o'clock today where some of these teams fall. And if chaos could be happening, Jake, it's going to be exciting. But coming up next, Carter, we have got Carter's Corner. What can can we expect at the 10 o'clock hour?
Well, guys, it's rivalry weekend, kind of. We don't get all the rivalries we used to, so I want to hear from you, Tolos, 877-881-1053, Twitch and YouTube. What is your favorite rivalry in college football? What's your favorite rivalry name? And I've got some more questions for the boys next on Fan University.
When your friends say, "Hey, did you hear?" you can proudly say,
Uber Eats has Lola V products? I gotta remember that.
You know, they say in order to remember something, you have to forget something else. Okay, now that is a very cute haircut. That's like a little shag. I've never seen it before. Well, I mean, it's Rachel. Oh, is that your name? No, I mean your name. No, I'm Jen. My name's Jen.
Right, but I just mean like this is your haircut. But that's hair on your head. I'm not saying this is your hair.
got to forget something else to remember that Uber Eats has groceries.
No, that's absurd. Hey, remember when you used to be a, what was it, Pepper Lady? Pepper Lady? Razor Blade.
Saffron Squad.
No.
Nutmeg Lady.
You just said that.
It's spice girls. Doesn't sound right.
Was it Saffron Squad?
Driven by our D&M Leasing Studios, it's your college football fix. Welcome to Fan University on 105.3 The Fan.
Carter, anything? Oh, that's right. You don't come on the radio. Carter? Carter Goodell. He's Carter Freeman.
Carter Freeman?
That is right, Gavin Dawson. I do indeed come on the radio. And not only that, I come out to Jake's here.
Yeah,
Jake's here off of
let's
Marsh Lane
go.
in Dallas. It's Fan University here on 105.3 The Fan. We're having a great time. We're going to be here for one more hour because we're going to carry the game. Michigan, Ohio State will be on our airwaves at 11 o'clock. So up until then, we got you covered. Still, we got Shahan Jayaraja coming up. We'll preview some more of the games today. We'll do our picks. But right now, it is Carter's Corner.
Shiner Box got you covered as well. There's a whole table of goodies and giveaways, stickers, bottle openers, all kinds of good stuff. I just made my way over there. They're like, Reetma, you can't take every single item. So I tried. But there are plenty of items for the Tolos.
So we'll try and hold Jake back from taking everything
Hold
home.
me back.
His pockets are full right now.
Oh, yeah, don't check my backpack either. There's a bunch of koozies. Koozies are the valuable item as well.
But that's right. We're here at Jake's off of Marsh Lane in Dallas. So come out and see us. And before we get into, any of my questions I had for you guys, it's rivalry week. We love us some college football rivalries, don't we? We love trying to say that word. Sometimes it can be tough.
It's hard.
Based
I love
on what
the
you had to drink
trophies.
last
I
night.
think every good rivalry game, the trophy part of it, I know that makes me sound like I'm in, like third grade co-ed basketball where you get the trophy at the end of the season, but I love when the team holds the trophy up of that rivalry game. It just adds one more element to your rivalry game.
That is a very Big Ten thing of you to say.
Yes.
Because we know you're from Big Ten country because pretty much every game in the Big Ten is a rivalry game.
Yeah.
So, but what I love are the names. I think some of these rivalries have great names, and there are some, big games that don't, but I think there's a lot of classic ones we're going to see today. I mean, you have the game, Ohio State and Michigan. We'll see that at 11. Later tonight, we have the Iron Bowl, which is Auburn, Alabama. Brennan, do you have a favorite rivalry name? Not just the game itself, but a name of a rivalry.
Okay, I said this a couple weeks ago when we were talking about the Egg Bowl in Mississippi, but I just find it funny that there's a huge rivalry named after an egg because it's just kind of a silly thing. And so I actually really like the Egg Bowl as a name. Is it my favorite rivalry in sports? No, obviously I'm not getting up for the Mississippi State Ole Miss game.
It had big implications yesterday.
It had a brawl yesterday. It had a brawl.
But I remember as a kid, I always used to love turning on Ohio State, Michigan with the snow, the cold weather, the physicality of the game.
Right.
This is arguably my favorite rivalry outside of, I'm a Texas Tech fan as well too, and graduated from there, so it's hard not having like a huge one-on-one rivalry when it comes to Tech because Texas didn't look at us like their biggest rival, right? A&M didn't look at us like their biggest rival. So I kind of, just by association of seeing the cold weather and the snow and the physicality, love the game. I cannot wait to watch this game at 11 o'clock.
All right, Jake, favorite rivalry name?
Yeah, I've got a couple for you. The game, I want it to be noted that obviously grew up around it, and that's a big part of it too, but it would be hard-pressed not to have some Big Ten roots for you, so I'm going to go with my alma mater, the land of Lincoln. The battle for the land of Lincoln is Northwestern and Illinois.
Is that being played today?
It is being played today, and the trophy is now a giant top hat like Lincoln used to wear. So I'm a fan of both the name and the trophy. When I was at Northwestern, Illinois was terrible. Illinois had some decent, it's still, under, why am I blanking on, old Arkansas coach, Bielema. Under Brett Bielema, Illinois has been a little bit better. They haven't really both been good at the same time. But the other one that I have newly kind of come around on, I think it's a cool name, is the Backyard Brawl. And I went there last year and just experienced it for myself. It's a different part of the country. It's Pitt versus West Virginia. If you haven't been out to it there, but just the sheer hate that those two schools have for one another. In fact, when they sing the Sweet Caroline song at West Virginia, the dun dun dun, they scream "Eat Bleep Pitt." I mean, throughout the entire song, and you got like third graders that are just going "Eat Beep Pitt," and it's just like these kids are learning it young, and I think that just speaks to what college football rivalries are all about. So both a cool name, Backyard Brawl, and true hatred for one another.
Yeah, and that was a rivalry we didn't see for a while, so I think it's not on the the top of most people's minds, but it's a great name.
And as far as the trophy, I do have to mention this one from the 972 because, again, near and dear to my heart, Michigan State play for the Paul Bunyan Trophy, and it is a battle for Paul Bunyan's trophy.
Yes, Paul Bunyan's trophy, because Minnesota and Wisconsin play for Paul Bunyan's axe.
Yes.
There are two Paul Bunyan rivalry
legend.
games in the Big Ten.
That is a legend, a guy right there. If you could get two rivalries named after you, you're doing something right.
From the 3-3-0, the Battle for the Valley, Fresno State versus San Jose State.
Okay.
A little West Coast action for us there.
I like that one. And so right now I have the Athletics best college football rivalry name rankings pulled up. And there are some real out there ones on here. I only want to go through the top 10. Think you'll know some of them. Don't think you'll know other ones. So we'll do a little bit of a trivia game here. But some that didn't make the top 10 that I think are great. The Border War. You know that's between?
Kansas, Missouri.
Kansas, Missouri, exactly.
They brought that back this year. Yeah.
And I believe we'll get a return game in Lawrence next year, because this year that game was in Columbia. So Backyard Brawl is another one. Third Saturday in October, I think, is kind of an underrated one. That is
Tennessee, Alabama.
Yes, and so it doesn't have like a wild name, but it's something like having it always on that date. I think it's cool, or that time of the year.
And the winner gets to smoke a nice cigar there in the stadium.
I like that.
With the win, that's the tradition for that one, is they get to pump out the cigars. So.
And we've finally seen Tennessee win a couple games in that series. It had been 16 years since Tennessee had beaten Alabama up until 2022, but the last two games in Knoxville, Tennessee has taken. So some other ones on here in the 20s range. We got Civil War, Oregon State. I think you just throw war into a rivalry game. I just think that immediately makes it better.
Civil War was on my mind. I'm sorry, I missed it. Who is the Civil War again?
Oregon and Oregon State.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, right. Because there's the Apple one is Washington State.
Yeah, the Apple
Cup.
Apple Cup, yes.
So that one might make an appearance later on here, because I do think that's a great nickname too. The Rumble in the Rockies. How about Colorado and Utah?
That's good.
So maybe some of these names, and there are actually some FCS rivalries on here, some G5 rivalries that we'll talk about that you might not know, but I want to educate you, man. What's the fan text saying?
From the 972, when was it the Red River Shootout before it got PC'd to rivalry?
Well, look, Red River Shootout's number 17 on the athletics list. So,
okay.
And that is easier to say than Red River Rivalry.
Oh, anytime I had to say Red River Rivalry, it just every time. It's impossible.
It's a hard thing to say. Okay, the Egg Bowl came in at number 12 on this list.
All right.
How about Marshall and Western Kentucky, number 11, the Moonshine Throwdown? Oh, that's not
that's a good one.
West Virginia, Kentucky battle right there. That's a great name.
I had some West Virginia Moonshine at West Virginia's tailgate before they played Colorado, and let me tell you, that'll put hair on your chest.
Okay. I don't know if I've ever had moonshine. I've had Shiner, which we got out here at Jake's with us. I don't think I've ever had moonshine. That's maybe if I ever end up in West Virginia again.
Yeah, it makes you kind of walk backwards and talk kind of funny. So.
Yeah, and go into a coal mine or something like that, right?
You don't know where it'll end up.
All right, the top 10 rivalry names according to The Athletic. Number 10, Jackson State and Alcorn State, the Soul Bowl.
Oh.
This is one of the longest played HBCU rivalries, and that is an awesome name. It's fun to say out loud, as this article says, the Soul Bowl. Number 9, the biggest little game in America. This is a D3 rivalry. So, Jake, do you have any idea who plays in the biggest little game in America?
Oh, we got D3 action later today. My brother and his team are in Wisconsin, but it's probably not Mount Union that comes to mind as a Division III team. Wisconsin Whitewater, so I don't know it.
That's two more teams than I could have named in Division III before this, as I need to up my football knowledge there. Amherst and Williams College. Those are Massachusetts. Those are Northeast.
I was just going to say D3 is huge in the Northeast.
I know of Amherst.
Okay, so
I do know of Amherst.
They play in the biggest little game in America.
I love it.
This is more of a number 8's more of a fan-made one, but it's really caught on unless you're a front office at one of these schools, in charge of them. Farmageddon. You guys know who plays in Farmageddon?
Oh wait, I do know this one. Is it Iowa State and Kansas State?
It is.
Nice. Good call.
Which they sent over to Ireland
Yes.
this year.
Yeah.
Because why would you want to play good rivalry games in the home stadiums of fans?
They shouldn't
Send them to
play.
Ireland.
They shouldn't play conference games in
No.
a scenario like that, especially like a rivalry. Like I know last year we saw Boston College, or it was Georgia Tech beating Florida State. That is a conference game, but there's no deep ties there. That'd be like if they sent Florida State and Miami over to Ireland for week 0. That's a little odd. But yes, we did open the season with Farmageddon. Deeper Than Hate, number 7. Anything you throw hate or war, I think both of those I can get in on. You're not going to know this one. This is App State versus Georgia Southern.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So
those two teams hate each other.
We saw clean, old-fashioned hate yesterday.
Yes.
Which
Yep.
is Georgia Tech.
Yes, they mentioned that a couple of times, and I had always heard that, but it registered when watching that game.
Speaking of Georgia, how about the world's largest outdoor cocktail party?
Georgia, Florida.
That's number 6 on this list. Number 5, this is an easy top 5. I would have this one even higher. The Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
I think when
Classic.
it comes to just when you think of like the gridiron, when you think of football, when you think of the South, there are a few things that come to my mind quicker than the Iron Bowl. And
Right.
it generally, even if Auburn is not having a great season, or even if Alabama is not having the season they're expecting to, that game pretty much always matters.
It always matters. The craziest plays seem to just happen in that game. You had the kick 6 from 2013, but then even the last couple of years, you had like a 4th and 19.
The grave digger.
The grave digger in the corner of the end zone, and like things that you never see happen in normal college football. They all just kind of pop out during the Iron Bowl, and you could be 1-10 Auburn against 10-1 Alabama, and it would not matter.
No.
I had the chance to go to an Iron Bowl a couple of years ago, and it was an experience I'll never forget. Just college football bucket list. It was in Tuscaloosa, and just enjoyed every second of it.
And when I think of the SEC on CBS, which we no longer have, but I think of that 2:30 slot, Central Time, in Auburn or in Tuscaloosa.
I will say the fact that game is at 6:30 tonight is terrifying the Alabama Crimson Tide fan base.
How's Jenna, your wife, doing with that?
Terrified. They care more about the Iron Bowl. They're probably more anxious for an Iron Bowl game, speaking of Alabama fans, than they are like a national championship game, I think. This game just gets them nervous because they don't know what's going to happen, especially in Jordan-Hare and Auburn.
Well, here's a quick aside. Let's say Alabama wins the Iron Bowl tonight. They're 10-2. But they're 10th in the CFP poll. I don't think beating Auburn is going to jump them above Notre Dame or above Oklahoma as it stands right now. What if Alabama loses big in the SEC title game? Are they still a lock?
They're still a lock because they would have beaten the team that they lost to, in Georgia.
I'm saying if Alabama loses.
But in the SEC championship game, they'd be playing Georgia in the SEC. But so they'd already have beaten Georgia on the road. So I think they wouldn't punish them for losing to Georgia, a team they've already beaten.
But if 10-2 Michigan with the win over,
I just cannot, maybe never say never, but I could not see a scenario where the committee says they're going to punish an SEC team for making the SEC championship.
And just throwing this out there because, look, if we're trying to get some of these other teams in there, something like that would have to happen.
The world would end if that happened. If an SEC team made
the world would end.
Yeah.
Then there'd be no more fan university.
Which would be a terrifying and terrible day for all of college football fans. But I just think there's no way they could do that.
So, committee, you've heard it here first.
That's right.
Don't let that happen. If that happens, leave Alabama in the CFP. We like existing.
I do have to give a shout out to the 903. They've texted this one in several times. Battle of Piney Woods at Stephen F. Austin versus Sam Houston.
Okay, some good Southeast Texas football right there. And Stephen F. Austin's had a good season this year, I believe. So shout out to the Lumberjacks.
And we talked about this at length, the Battle of the Ravine, which is the D2 game. There's only a highway that separates Henderson State, the Reddies, and the one that's very difficult to pronounce, Ouachita Baptist.
Yes.
It does not look like Ouachita Baptist, but that is how you say it.
No, it absolutely does not. That's when the English language gets really fun.
Yes, they tried to get College Game Day there this year. It would have been great.
Yeah, Reese did. Maybe in the future. Place that Game Day's been before, number 4, Holy War. BYU and Utah.
That's a great one.
That one's big.
Good game this year.
You throw war into it, and you make it religious. You make it the damn Crusades in the mountains of Utah.
Two really good teams this year,
yes.
too.
And look, both of them 10-win teams. Utah's it's funny. We've talked about all these scenarios getting these 10-2 teams in. We didn't mention Utah once. I know they're in that mix, and they're above Texas right now. They're above Michigan, but really doesn't feel like the Utes really have a shot.
That's another team, too, just because of the decal and the conference at play. They're going to get overlooked, though the teams they lost to, Texas Tech and BYU, are both very deserving to be in the top 12. Utah sitting there at 13. They're showing them respect, but they're going to be the second or third team out, regardless of what happens, because at this point they'll put a 9-3 Texas in over a 10-2 Utah.
And I think if Utah is the top Big 12 team not in the CFP, if BYU was to make it, Utah would go to, I think, the Alamo Bowl. And then if not that, I think the Pop-Tarts Bowl would be the next one.
Which last year the Alamo Bowl was 2 Big 12 teams, though they still honored Colorado as a Pac-12 matchup. So they had Colorado BYU, so maybe they'll get another Big 12 matchup in the Alamo Bowl again this year.
And those affiliations go on for another couple years because Cal, Stanford, they're in the ACC now. They'll still play in the old Pac-12 bowl games if they're to get to that.
Yeah,
point.
that was the legacy game for Shedeur Sanders getting his jersey retired, right? Didn't he throw like 4 picks and they lost by 4 touchdowns?
Yeah.
And then obviously you got to retire his jersey after that.
BYU was disrespected last year like they were this year, and they went and showed we're one of the best teams in the country. Just everyone forgot about us.
While we were talking a lot of BYU, but they're 21-3. They'll be 22-3 in their last 25 games. Imagine a team that would have back-to-back 11-win seasons, and if they don't win the Big 12 next week, have no conference championship or college football playoff to show for it.
Yeah,
that's pretty sad.
That would be crazy. And last year they beat SMU in the regular season, who ended up going to the playoff. It's like they beat a playoff team.
And they got no respect for that win.
We saw it.
Yeah.
So, all right, really quickly, the last 3. The battle for the bones. University of Alabama, Birmingham, and Memphis over barbecue bones.
Oh,
right? Different kinds of
that's
barbecue.
good. Yeah.
And these are just the best names, not the games themselves, just the best names. Number 2, I do think I'm biased here, but I think this is a great one. Bedlam. Because that game is always crazy. There's 2 things about Bedlam where, it's a guarantee. The game is going to be crazy, and Oklahoma is going to beat Oklahoma State. Go look at that record. It is what it is for a reason. Number 1, though, the best rivalry name according to The Athletic in college football, the Brawl of the Wild.
Oh.
You know who plays in the Brawl of the Wild?
I don't.
This is a great matchup between Grizzlies and Bobcats. This is Montana versus Montana State.
That does get heated.
We talk about, and they're 2 FCS playoff teams. This year, Montana was undefeated. Montana State knocked them off to supersede them in the FCS seedings, which that's what I should have done for Carter's Corner this week. I should have broken down the FCS playoff bracket because Tarleton State's the 4 seed. They get a bye this week, and they play their first home game in the playoffs next Saturday at noon, I believe. So
Look
Tarleton
out.
State is still up there.
Friends of the show as well, too, there at Tarleton State.
Exactly.
Wanted
to give them a shout-out. So there you go. That's some great rivalry names.
Carter's Corner always coming up with things you need to know. And it's rivalry week. It's hate week. Those are some of the best. Well, coming up next, another friend of the show, Shahan Jayaraja from CBS Sports, is going to sit down with us to tell us what would we do with Texas and why is BYU getting no respect. That and much more next on The Fan.
Uber Eats has low review products? I gotta remember that.
Well, you know, they say in order to remember something, you have to forget something else. Okay, now that is a very cute haircut. That's like a little shag. I've never seen it before. Well, I mean, of course it is. It's the Rachel. Oh, is that your name? No, I mean, what's your name? No, I'm Jen. My name's Jen. Right, but I just feel like this is your haircut, but that's hair on your head. I'm not saying this is your hair. Okay.
used to be a, what was it? Pepper Lady.
To you by the Frankels. If you've been injured in a car or truck wreck, call Frankel first, 214 or 817-333-3333 with Frankel and Frankel. There is never an out-of-pocket cost. They only get paid when you win. Frankel and Frankel, the go-to car and truck wreck attorneys in Dallas.
It is Fan University here on 105.3 The Fan Saturday morning, and we are less than an hour from some of the biggest games live with you from Jake's Burgers and Beers.
Yeah!
And we're going to be hanging out this afternoon as well, watching some football. I am Brennan Baxter alongside Carter Freeman and Jake Rietma. Come out and get your Shiner spirits and beer, your Texas Special, your Bloody Marys.
Yeah!
It's all here for you. It's going to be
breakfast
great.
burger.
The
I'm about to order the breakfast
Jake's
burger.
about to munch over here. It is going to be an exciting afternoon of football. Carter's doing great over here, coming back from Austin early this morning.
Yeah, hangovers are 3 out of 10
Yeah,
now,
it's
gone down.
slowly getting better. So we are going to be joined by CBS Sports' Shahan J. Raja here in just a second. Do we have, I don't know, Shahan, what do we think? Was he at Austin last night? I want to find out if Shahan was on site last night for CBS Sports. Shahan, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, and yes, I was in Austin. I'm here right now. Actually, I'm gonna jump in the car and make the drive back as soon as this is over.
Okay, man. Well, that's great. Well, I figured you'd be out there last night. Well, let's start there, man. And happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays to you and your family as well, too. Great fan of the show here. But seeing that game in person yesterday, seeing Texas come out with the win, 27-17. Obviously, the huge conversation is going to be about, is Texas deserving of potentially sneaking up? But you wrote an article last evening about that game, about A&M and potentially like their resume within the SEC, not dropping out of the playoff, but where they would fall. So let's touch on the Aggies first. What do you think this means for the Aggies in regards to seeding? And then to follow that up, where do you feel like Texas will be come Tuesday night after the win?
Yeah, what's interesting about Texas A&M is, heading into the game, it was kind of understood, right? Like, they had played mostly the bottom half of the SEC. They'd taken care of business, which is not a guarantee. I mean, certainly when you talk about a team like Texas not doing that, Texas A&M had. But the teams that they played heading into Saturday, or into Friday, rather, were 11-41 combined in conference play. And they do still have that win, of course, over Notre Dame. That's a huge, huge resume point. But at this point, that's the only ranked win that they have on their schedule. And they were up at number 3 as one of the 3 undefeated teams remaining. But without, kind of that undefeated mark, I think that they certainly have a chance to fall. I would say that they're a lock to fall behind Georgia. I would personally think it's likely that they move behind a Big 12 champion Texas Tech, especially if they win that game next week. I think that you start having conversations about the Oregon and Ole Miss tier potentially as well. So you can go from maybe being a first-round bye team to being one who is just on the edge of hosting a playoff game. Now, I think that they'll still be fine. I think that they'll still be able to host that game. I don't think that they'll fall probably further than 6 or 7, but it just changes a lot. And on top of course, the actual seeding of it, I mean, this was the first time that Texas A&M played a team that's currently ranked since Notre Dame. And, for them to obviously struggle the way that they did, I think that doesn't just bode poorly for their seeding. I think it also bodes poorly for their performance in the playoff. To touch on Texas for a second, look, I think the committee kind of, played their hand the last 2 weeks by putting them all the way down at number 16. They'd need to jump probably like 6 teams potentially to get into the college football playoff. And while their win over Texas A&M, I think, is very, very valuable and important, to me, that's just too many spots to have to jump. They'd have to jump, for example, a BYU team that's 10-1 right now. They'd have to jump, Alabama or Notre Dame potentially in order to get all the way into the field. I just think it's too much of a jump at this point.
And Shahan, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you about. BYU is a team that comes to mind, and even just that discussion of a lot of these 2-loss teams, whether it be in the Big 12 or even in the Big 10 with Michigan. They've got a chance today, obviously, against Ohio State. That would add a whole nother wrinkle in all of this. But and I know we're trying to think for the committee here, which is a scary thought in and of itself, but you said they've played their hand in the sense that where Texas is ranked. Do you see any way that they could, in fact, just reverse that ruling and Texas jump those teams like BYU, like a Michigan, or even like a Utah that has 2 losses?
Yeah, I think that they would have a very good chance to jump many of those 2-loss teams. The ones that I run into trouble with are Notre Dame, who, again, the committee values a lot, even though, frankly, their resume is not very good overall. They'd need Alabama to lose to Auburn. I don't think that there's a pathway to Texas jumping Alabama just on the merit of beating Texas A&M. I think that you need BYU to lose probably pretty badly to Texas Tech in a Big 12 title game. I think that a close game, it would be very hard to put a team that heads into the conference title game 11-1 behind Texas. So that's where I run into issue. I think that actually they have a chance to jump 2-loss to Utah. I think that, especially with their win over Texas A&M, it's certainly better than anything that Utah has. I think that they'll jump Vanderbilt. I think they'll jump Michigan, assuming that they don't beat Ohio State. But it's just so many teams that they'd have to jump because of, of course, the ACC and Group of 5 champion also being part of that group. I just don't see a pathway into the top 10 that feels very realistic.
Shahan J. Raja, national college football writer for CBS Sports and folk hero in Provo and Lubbock, joining us. And Shahan, I saw that your work was used on the graphic for Oklahoma State's hiring of Eric Morris, UNT head coach. So I was hoping you could touch a little bit on just UNT, and they won yesterday. They have a chance to go to the CFP if they win the American title game, but also wanted to get your thoughts on where the hell's Lane Kiffin going to go?
Well, I texted Oklahoma State, one of their contacts at the school, and was like, "Man, you guys are using so much of my stuff for content after hiring Eric Morris. I better get good access when he gets over there." But but I think that he is an absolutely perfect hire. Frankly, the moment that Mike Gundy was let go, I thought that Eric Morris would be the perfect hire, and the reason for that is a couple things. One, I mean, he knows modern college football. He's been a head coach at smaller levels, and he's one of those coaches in the vein. I'm not going to call him full Kurt Signetti or anything, but who's won at different levels and also with lesser resources. Incarnate Word was one of the lowest budgeted football programs in the Southland, and he won the conference his first year. At North Texas, they're actually in the bottom third in rev share funding in the American. They have a chance to play for a conference championship next week. And now he's going to go to Oklahoma State, a place that isn't disadvantaged, a place that's going to compete with just about everybody, maybe short of Tech and BYU in the Big 12. And so I think it's a great fit. He also brings some of that same offensive energy that you saw early in Mike Gundy's tenure. I would argue that pound for pound, he's the best quarterback developer in college football. You look at some of his success stories, and he's just going to bring a whole lot of fun and excitement back to a place that hasn't actually had a top half Big 12 offense since 2020.
That's crazy to think about Oklahoma State's fall the last 4 or 5 years. Well, Shahan, I do want to go touch on, and I love the Eric Morris talk, former Red Raider wide receiver, by the way. But, Shahan, we sat together. We were on the field together in Lubbock for the BYU Tech game there at the end of the game. And now that we officially have that rematch in the Big 12 championship next week, do you feel like BYU being 11-1, assuming they take care of Central Florida today and then Texas Tech takes care of West Virginia, do you feel like next weekend BYU is the most disrespected top 11 or 10 team in the country? And is there a chance at all that they get more credit by being 11-1 into that game? Or is this team just kind of in trouble just because they're BYU?
Yeah, we don't even have to limit it to this year. Over the last 2 years, BYU is by far the most underranked and disrespected team in the college football playoff rankings. Last year, they come into the final week of the season at 10-2 with a road win against the playoff team in SMU, and they finish number 17. This year, of course, they're 10-1, have a really good chance to finish 11-1. And they are on the outside looking in behind a bunch of teams that, frankly, do not even have the quality of wins and resume that BYU has. I really look especially at that Notre Dame team, who obviously has been very dominant against lesser opponents, but lost their 2 big games and don't have a win anywhere near as good as BYU's over Utah. So I think, yes, they are very undervalued at this point. I think that there's a couple things at play here. I think that this is a team that just stylistically, they want to manage games. They don't necessarily care to put teams away, in the case of like a Notre Dame or even a Utah, who obviously beats up on lesser opponents. But you look at the past 2 years, I mean, it's a team that's 21-3 over the past 2 years, and for them to not even really have a chance to crack the top 10 at this point in the season, it's pretty rough. And look, obviously they're going to have a chance to go 11-1 tomorrow, but I don't see a pathway, for example, to them passing Alabama unless they lose to Auburn. I don't see a path to them passing Notre Dame, who obviously the committee has taken very seriously. I mean, they are in a very, very difficult position, and I think that they're going to go into a Big 12 title game, and at least they're going to be in a win-and-you're-in situation. But I think that Texas Tech, frankly, might be the second best team in America right now, and I don't know that even if BYU plays the best that they can, and even if they play like a top 10 team, that still might not be enough to take care of business against Texas Tech.
Well, Shahan, I mean, I would like to ask you more questions, but we just have to revive Brendan Baxter here, too. All right, you said Texas Tech might be one of the second-best team in the country, and he fainted. I've never seen anything like it.
Shahan, man, we know. How many texts have you gotten from West Texas people this week, especially after Texas Tech clinched? I'm sure a lot of people are thanking you for Texas Tech getting to the Big 12 championship game.
Hey, listen, I wrote over the offseason that their goal was to make it to Arlington. That that was the idea behind this. This is one of those teams that hasn't played for a Big 12 title, I think, ever. I don't think that they played.
No,
they haven't won.
No.
They haven't won 8 conference championships since 1993 when Texas A&M was ineligible for the conference title. They haven't won an outright one since 1955. Like, everybody kind of wants to think about, like, well, is this sustainable? But, like, it was about this moment. They're going to be playing in Arlington. They're going to have a chance to win the Big 12. They're going to have a chance to be in the college football playoff. I mean, this is coming together in a way that I think is even better than a lot of people in Lubbock thought it would over the offseason. So huge moment for them. Obviously, people are very, very excited, as I'm sure Brennan can attest. And listen, we're going to get one of the highest attendance Big 12 title games we could possibly have with BYU versus Texas Tech for the first time.
It might be a sellout. I've been calling that it might be a sellout in AT&T Stadium next Saturday. It's going to be
I'd be disappointed if it's
Arlington.
not.
Yeah,
take that as a challenge.
They won't have to show not show the upper deck like last year with Arizona State and Iowa State in the game.
They need the upper deck for this game. Well, Shahan, I can speak for it. We were walking Jones AT&T Stadium BYU weekend, and people were coming up to Shahan left and right saying, "Man, we love the article." So he is a folk hero and celebrity in West Texas, and he is a good friend of Fan University here. So Shahan, drive safe coming back to Dallas, man. We appreciate you, and we'll maybe see you out in Arlington next weekend.
Sounds good. Y'all owe me a Jake's Burger when we get out there.
All right, man. Come on.
Absolutely.
Shahan J. Raja on CBS Sports. Just a great article and piece on West Texas. He wrote a good article on A&M in Texas yesterday as well, too, so go check him out on CBS Sports as well. Well, guys, it is almost that time for our last regular season pick'em of Fan University.
How about that?
We are going to pick the biggest games of the day coming up next on Fan University.
Take the
remember something, you have to forget something else. Okay, now that is a very cute haircut. That's like a little shag. I've never seen it before. Oh, I mean, of course I have. It's the Rachel. Oh, is that your name? No, I mean like your name. No, I'm Jen. My name's Jen. Right, but I just mean like this is your haircut, but that's hair on your head. I'm not saying this is your hair.
Back to the Fan University right here on 105.3 The Fan. This upcoming segment's brought to you by Classic Chevrolet. If you're in the market to upgrade your vehicle, get to Classic Chevrolet in Grapevine. Back-to-back #1 Chevy dealership in the world. They've got more new Chevys than anyone, all priced to sell. Silverados, Tahoes, Blazers, Malibus, Equinox, and more. Visit ClassicChevrolet.com. This is Texas. This is Classic Chevrolet. Together, let's drive, relax, and enjoy the difference based on new Chevrolet registrations 2023 and 2024.
And we are back to Fan University here on 105.3 The Fan, live from Jake's Burgers and Beers right off March and Walnut Hill. Woo-hoo! Come out and see Jake's this afternoon. We'll be here hanging out watching football.
Yeah.
The Ohio State-Michigan game will be airing on 105.3 here in 15 minutes. So you know what that means. If we're 15 minutes from kickoff, it is pick'em time here on Fan University. I'm Brendan Baxter alongside Jake Rietma, Carter Freeman. We're having a blast here at Jake's. Come out, get your Shiner beer and spirits, your Texas specials, and your Bloody Marys all day.
Perfect time to mention, I did just try the Shiner Bock seasonal ale, and it is delicious in the schooner here, and it's cold.
Yeah, show out to the fan camp.
Yeah, there we go. And let me
Very
tell you,
Christmassy.
There's nothing like
holiday cheer.
A Shiner at 10:45 in the morning during Fan University's picks at Jake's on Marsh and Walnut. Get on out here. You're not going to want to miss it. And let me tell you guys, I think this is exactly the key ingredient for an undefeated week for me this week, like Brendan Baxter had last week.
That's true. Brendan was 4-0 in his picks last week. That puts him officially back in the lead. 39-23 on the season. 16 games over 500. Official ball knower right here. But Jake and I are not far behind. I was 2-2 last week. 37-25 is my record. Jake was 3-1. And shout out to Brendan for still believing in BYU. Just like Shahan J. Raj.
I told you, BYU is a good football team. I don't know why. Well,
Brendan 39 wins. Carter 37, Jake 35. So we're still close.
We're there. We're all ball knowers. We're all ball knowers. All right.
I don't disagree.
We have got 10 minutes to pick some of the biggest games of rivalry week here. We're going to start with the obvious one. It's called The Game for a reason. Ohio State at Michigan, kicking off here in 15 minutes. Gentlemen, I want to see the Michigan Wolverines find a way to get this done for the 5th straight year at home in the Big House, but I can't in good faith pick against the Ohio State Buckeyes this year. I think after last year, they're going to come in angry, physical. They want to win this game. Though this team is playing for more than just the game, they want to win. I think Ohio State is going to out-physical Michigan, and they get the dub in the Big House.
You can take a look at this matchup from everything on the field and say Julian Sayan's been a better player than Bryce Underwood. You can say Ohio State's defense has been better than Michigan's defense. I would even give the head coaching advantage to Ryan Day over Sherrone Moore. And that almost has been the case the last several years. But Michigan has still found a way to win. But it doesn't happen this year. Give me the Ohio State Buckeyes on the road, and if you're the gambling type, I'll give you a lock of the day. The over-under at 43.5. I don't think Michigan's scoring 2 touchdowns in this game, so take the under because I don't think Ohio State's going to score a bunch of points, but they're going to win this one comfortably, and I've got somewhere like a 24-13 kind of score, so take the under.
You guys ready for the Ohio State kiss of death? Because I'm picking them too. So it makes 3-0.
Get the graphic ready.
3-0,
Get the graphic ready.
Ohio State here for Fan University. But I'm with you. Everything, Jake, that you just said. I think Ohio State's just the better team. I think Bryce Underwood, being a freshman in only his 12th career game, he's like Tony Garcia, who we had on earlier, said like he's had his best game of the season last week, but that wasn't against this Ohio State defense, and no one's had success against it. And it's hard for me to think that a guy playing in his true freshman season is going to just have all the success in the world, even at home, against what could be we'll look back at maybe a generationally good Ohio State defense. And I just think Ohio State is too good. I know they're dealing with some injuries at receiver, like Jeremiah Smith. Carnell Tate might not be 100% if they are going to play, but they're still just that good. And there's a reason Ohio State's been ranked number 1 the entire season. They're gonna show it again on the road today, get their first win in the series since 2019.
Wow. Real quick, I know we gave Tony Garcia a hard time about this, but they did just have...
Did.
Yes, that's me. He's a close personal friend. We can do that. But they did just have the Fox Big Noon Kickoff with Derek Jeter, Tom Brady, Charles Woodson. There is something, as much as it pains me to give Michigan any kind of credit, but the Michigan man and just the aura of some of these guys that have gone on to be the best in their sports, there's something to be said like, okay, there's Derek Jeter, there's Tom Brady, there's Charles Woodson, just sitting next to each other talking about their school.
Yeah, lots of big names there. Sit down, tons of fun. All right, well, let's move to the Iron Bowl. Alabama at Auburn, 6:30 tonight in Jordan-Hare Stadium at Auburn. This game, we talked about it earlier, you never know. It could be a crazy scenario, weird kickoff returns, weird interceptions, 4th and 20, touchdowns at the last second. But I think that Alabama with Ty Simpson has enough. Auburn's defense is ranked in the bottom half of the SEC. The pass defense is not very good. I think Alabama finds enough big plays in the passing game to sneak out of here with a win and go to the SEC championship game, but it'll be close. But I'm taking the Crimson Tide.
This is dangerous. We're all on the same page again. Well, I can't speak for Carter, but I like Ty Simpson in that Alabama offense, especially considering what's on the line. I mean, it's the Iron Bowl, so say no more. But Alabama really does need to win to preserve their season in the sense of the goals that they have as a team. And I think Kalen DeBoer put on the black hoodie so that he knows that Alabama will win the black hoodie of death, add in the Iron Bowl. The Crimson Tide will have no problem going on the road. It's in Auburn, right?
It's
in Auburn,
yes.
Yep.
You know what team in the SEC has allowed the second least points in conference play? That would be the Auburn Tigers of Auburn. Auburn's defense is excellent. If they can figure out something on offense with Ashton Daniels, who's going to play in this game at quarterback, I think Auburn has a real chance to win this game.
But Auburn's pass defense is not very good, is what I was reading last night.
Sure, but
my source could be wrong.
I think they have one of the best defensive lines in the country, and a lot of Auburn's losses in conference play have been because they can't score. But those are low-scoring games. They lost to OU 24-17. They lose A&M like 16-10. Jackson Arnold's not starting for Auburn anymore. I think you're going to actually get some offense out of them. I'm going to pick Auburn.
All right.
I think Auburn's going to get the upset today. We're going to free up a spot for maybe BYU, maybe Michigan.
Okay,
there you go.
Okay, Carter. Well, I'm going to stay with you, Vandy at Tennessee within the SEC. Vandy going to Knoxville. Who do you like here?
Oh, gosh. This is the first time this game has been between two ranked teams in forever, and there's actual implications with it. I can't think of any point in history when Tennessee and Vandy have played with, anything on the line. I'm going to go with Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt's been the better team all year. Tennessee hasn't really beaten anybody impressive in conference, and Diego Pavia is making a late run at least going to New York. I don't think he's going to win the Heisman Trophy, but he's definitely in the conversation, and the guys at the top aren't really brash. They're not loud, and Diego Pavia is definitely a Johnny Manziel type of character,
the big
right?
personality with his mom and Theo Vaughn
and all that. Yes, so I think Vandy will get the win. I think they'll win 10 games for the first time, I think, ever, and not make the CFP, but have a great end to their season. Give me Vandy.
Well, Diego Pavia, in my opinion, is the second best quarterback playing in this matchup. Give me Joey Aguilar. I know his numbers haven't been amazing.
You like Mr. Turnover?
But I'm going to do the cherry picking like the committee does. Turn on that game against Georgia, which is a very good defense. He was excellent in that game. I'm going to take the Tennessee Volunteers in this one. It's also kind of a fun matchup. Not that I know everything about the state of Tennessee, but very much has the old school of this is the blue blood program to who's the new kid on the block that all of a sudden wants the hype and the headlines that Vanderbilt is doing, and Clark Lee has been extended, and I do think the infrastructure is in place for Vanderbilt to be repeatedly very good for the years coming forward, but I think Tennessee just too much talent. Give me good old Rocky Top.
I love it.
Top Tennessee.
I like it. No, dude, keep going.
Good stuff.
It's great. It's not beautiful there. I'm going Tennessee Vols as well here, too. I think it's a lot to ask Vandy on the road here. They have struggled a little bit on the road. They weren't able to knock off Texas on the road or Alabama on the road. Those are their only two losses this year. Another tough environment. Big in-state rivalry game here now that Vanderbilt's actually good. So I'm going to take Tennessee, but it'll be a close game. I think Diego Pavia will go out swinging, so we'll see what happens. All right, SMU at Cal. Not necessarily the biggest game on the docket, but here in Dallas-Fort Worth, SMU wins. They're in the ACC championship game. Cal has fired their head coach already, and Justin Wilcox. So I'm going to take the Mustangs, man, to go to their second straight ACC championship game. They find a way to get it done out west, and we'll see the Mustangs again, potentially against Virginia. Maybe it's Pitt. Maybe it's Miami. I don't know the scenarios in the ACC, but I know SMU will be there after tonight.
SMU is going to need to book that cross-country flight. They're going to go from California to North Carolina to play for the ACC title. I'm taking SMU.
I'm with you as well. I think Rhett Lashley and his staff deserve a lot of credit, and it feels like, I don't want to say, years and years ago, but it feels like a long time ago we were talking about Rhett Lashley as a candidate for the Arkansas job, and SMU and that administration did the right thing. They locked him up long term. They locked his staff up long term. I still go back to that soundbite when he talked about SMU chose us, and it just feels like that fusion, that cohesion of Rhett Lashley at the helm, this SMU program having the potential to go back-to-back ACC title games in the first 2 years of being in the conference. They deserve a lot of credit, and I see the Mustangs going back to Charlotte as well.
Okay, let's go quickly. Staying in the ACC, Miami at Pitt. We've talked about Miami, the scenarios at play. They need a win, obviously. There's some funky things that could happen where they might be able to end up in the ACC championship game. But does Miami keep their name in the ring, or are they knocked out at 11 a.m. here against Pitt?
Screw you, Pat Narduzzi. Give me the Miami Hurricanes.
I'm going to go with the Canes, too.
Okay, I'm going to go in Miami, too. I think there's a lot of talk. Pitt is coming off a high win against Georgia Tech last week.
Yeah, ACC
on the road,
so
ACC game, it matters. We'll see what happens. All right, last game, Carter. This one's for you. LSU at OU. There's a coronation at play today. OU cannot play in the SEC championship game, but a win today at home locks them into the playoff. What do you think, Carter? Is OU going to head to the 2025 college football playoff?
Oklahoma is going to miss their starting center in this game, Jake Michaela. Their offensive line is not completely healthy. Their running backs are not healthy. But when your defense tackles 17 guys at a time, it's hard to beat that. And LSU's offense has not been what we thought it would be. Them going on the road in the cold, I think this favors the defense. OU is going to win their 10th game, and they will host a home playoff game in the CFP.
All right, Jake.
Hey, ditto. I think Oklahoma's a really good football team. And, not to reiterate everything, but they've played a lot of really tough games this year, and I think they're battle-tested. Give me the Oklahoma Sooners.
All right, I'm going to go LSU. just for the chaos purpose of the fact, I want OU to win, but I'm going to say let's shake it up a little bit.
Send us to the Gator Bowl, man.
Let's send OU to the Gator Bowl. So we'll see what happens, man. Well, what a blast today was here at Jake's Burgers and Beers off Marsh and Walnut Hill. Come out here, Shiners hanging out, tons of giveaways. Texas Shiners, spirits, beers, Bloody Mary. It has been fantastic. The Shiner trucks outside, and we are Fan University here on 105.3 The Fan. Jake Riepma, Carter Freeman, Brennan Baxter. Enjoy the game. Michigan, Ohio State coming up next here on The Fan.
Tolo means turn it on